Hi guys, and good evening, and welcome to the Charlton Chronicles. We are obviously a bit late reviewing the Norwich game, but obviously we wasn't going to do last night, so we're here tonight as usual. As you can see, we are joined by Callum, Paul, Steve, and Sid, and we have a very special guest tonight, our lovely Helen, who's down the bottom there, who is our guest fan tonight. But we wanted Helen to come on from 8 o'clock. So please make Helen feel welcome, which I'm sure you all will. And we will be coming to Helen shortly once we've done our Norwich review to learn more about her Charlton story, which is going to be quite an interesting one, I do believe. So, Callum, I'll start with you. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right. Small mercies. The coach didn't stop on the way back from Norwich. In a way, I'd very much like to forget. But Copperberg's in the for the concession stand, so worst things in the world. But yeah, doing all right. Last time I have to review that god awful game.
Yeah, and did you have a nice Christmas? More importantly,
I did. It was very quiet. Just with a close family, but it was very nice.
Good. And Paul, how are you, mate? And did your cat eat all your Christmas dinner?
Not quite a lot of it, but no, she's all right. But as I say, yeah, good Christmas. Hopefully, we don't have to spend too much time reviewing that game on the other day, and we can just get on with talking to Helen. I think I prefer that, but I suppose if we have to do it, we'll have to do it.
Watching Helen is a flirt. And Stephen, Sid, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Emma. We've had a great Christmas, full of Christmas cheer. Sydney and her brother have been buzzing for that whole period, and they've done very well from Father Christmas as well. So, yeah, the less said about Boxing Day, the better. But I'm sure we'll move on to it as and when.
Yeah, definitely. And Helen, finally, welcome to the Charlton Chronicles. It's lovely to have you on. So how are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's really excited to be here. My boys are very excited as well. So they're looking forward to watching it back.
Good. That's what we want to hear. So we will say good evening to some people in the chat. So good evening to Charlie. He's hoping that we're going to eliminate his fears about us going down. No, we're not absolutely not going to do that, Charlie. I'm going to rave about us going down, especially for you. Good evening to Rob. I don't know about us missed having Nathan Jones in the dugout. He was annoying me seeing him sitting there chewing on his plaster. Good evening to Ian and James. Good evening to Glenn. Good evening to Mark. Good evening to Matt. Good evening to KD Welly. Oh. And good evening to Chris. And that is it. So, who do I start with? I'm going to start with Stephen Sid for a change, actually. So, if you can you sum up that Norwich game for me in your own words? I'm hoping for a Sid rant. Go on, Sid. I've missed it.
It was a really disappointing game, but to be fair, both sides weren't great. And I think that when their goal happened, Lloyd got really unlucky with it because it just fell to the guy's feet. I mean, he kind of didn't miss. But overall, I mean, seeing that we had no shots in the whole game is really disappointing because, I mean, as a championship team, how can you not have any shots in a game against a team who's maybe struggling for relegation right now? And, it seems a bit bizarre to me that we had players that, yes, on the game, didn't really look like they wanted to be there or wasn't putting in enough passion. And I thought that only 2 or 3 of the players actually looked like they wanted to be there and play for the team. But yeah, overall, I think it's a missed out 3 points. But I mean, we move on to Coventry and Portsmouth as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Coventry. I'm sure we got Portsmouth first. And Steve, I know obviously, look, a really disappointing game. Obviously, I had to work Boxing Day, but I watched the game from the till point at work, and lucky I didn't have any customers because I was swearing at my phone. Something chronic. So how would you sum up that performance, really?
Yeah, massively disappointed for me on Boxing Day. 2 poor sides on the day. And looking at Norwich, I can see why they're struggling at the bottom. The biggest annoyance was, as Sid covered there, they were there for the taking on Boxing Day. And I think if we'd have played a bit more it's one of the famous terms, isn't it? Front-footed. I think if we'd have gone for it, if we'd have shown a bit more Machiavellian, if we'd have shown a little bit more, I don't know, just a bit more industry going forward rather than sitting in and trying to defend and low block and all that stuff. I just thought we let an opportunity go there. That they weren't great, as I say, and we just didn't show the fans. The fans showed up in numbers again, which was fantastic. But as I say, it was a disappointing game where we've really let a good opportunity to get 3 points get away from us. If I'm being honest with you, that's probably one of the most disappointed I've been this season, walking away from a game, I've got to say.
Yeah, the performance was atrocious. It really was. Like watching it, obviously I'm not there in person, but sometimes obviously watching it on your phone, you get a bit better close-up of like the game. And yeah, to be honest, I have no words. And I know me and Callum have been discussing it today quite a lot. So Callum's got slightly sort of different opinions to me, which we always do tend to disagree on things, but in a nice way.
Have a laugh
on
about
certain aspects. So, Callum, I'll come to you next. So, really, I've seen a lot of people, you know, and Mark especially probably in the chat are saying about he would be desperate for a system change. And I know that's something you probably disagree with. So, you know, where in your opinion are we going wrong? And what did you make of that performance?
I mean, I chatted to Mark actually. I think during Oxford actually at half time. Really interesting conversation we were having about different things. And I totally understand the point, and I totally understand. You know, and I was chatting to you. I totally understand why people feel the way they do about the system. My issue with it is that one, I don't think we have the players to change the system. And I mean that in the squad as a whole, we don't have two centre backs that can play in a 4. They all play in a 3. You can make the argument maybe Lloyd Jones, but the last time Lloyd Jones has played in a 4 was under Appleton. It was a disaster, not because the player's not good, but because you're not used to playing just with one man sort of covering you. For me, and I was trying to go through this when I was doing sort of my pod before, there's a really key sort of area that I think that we're really struggling, and it's connecting that attacking bit to the back bit. But it's both an attacking sort of, going forward, trying to score goals. I get that, and other people can cover some of the issues up front and some of the things that we're seeing. I think that that's really that a lot of people's points on that I think are true. But we are so desperately missing an athletic connecting midfielder, someone who can take the ball and get it from the back to the front. I think when we came into the season, the way we set the back 5 up was Josh Edwards could bomb, Bree could bomb, or Apter could bomb. You had Jones in the middle to sit. You had Coventry there basically would drop in to the back if he needed to. And then you had 2 drivers at centre-back. So Bell can drive with the ball. Ramsey can drive with the ball. Right? Burt can drive with the ball. Right? And the injuries basically have taken that away. So that build-up play that meant you could sort of skip passing to Greg Doherty, for example, who's not great on the ball. Or you could skip passing to Connor Coventry, who doesn't want to drive. That's gone. And without that, I think that's where we're really struggling. And I think that it's a question of you have to sort left back out, whatever happens. But you've got a choice to make. It's, do you go buy a left-footed centre-back that can drive? Do you go and buy a right-back who can drive for you and you can sort of push them up, right? Do you, when you get that left wing-back, it has to be someone that can go forward. We were discussing Bell. That's not his game. He's brought in as a centre-back, playing as a centre-back, right? Or do you go and get a midfielder who can do that connecting piece? But the issue is that we have Anderson who can do the athleticism part of it, but technically he's not able to play that ball forward and do that connecting piece because it's not his game when he's 20 years old, right? So it's a question of where do you find a midfielder that can do that? You know, I would make the argument maybe a JRC could do it. I think when he's dropped Carey in there, I think that's what he's trying to create. I think he's tried Nibs in there, and that was the player that was brought in to do that job, and he can't do it. So it's a question of, do you go out and buy the midfielder, or do you fix the other little bits and do it that way? But I think if you change the whole system at the moment, system changes mid-season very rarely work out because you don't usually have the players to do it because you haven't gone out and bought them. If a TC went down, you don't have a left winger. If an Apter goes down, if you're going to play him at the right wing, you don't have a right winger. All of a sudden, you're in the same situation that we're in now. So that's my thoughts where I've sort of ranted there. But it's really bothering me. And I said it to you on the text, it's really bothering me why that gap, especially on the left side is there. But Gillespie is not that player to drive. And so there's constantly so much of a gap between him and whoever's having the god-awful job of trying to play left wing back, because you just can't get the ball up and out, right? We don't have the players to do that. I say it all the time. We're not going to sign this player. He's way out of our price range, nor will he ever come here. But the type I think you're looking for is a Jack Redoni at Coventry, that sort of Cam 8 hybrid who can play the ball, who can drive with the ball, but can actually somewhat tackle. And that's what we don't have as a player like that. The problem with a player like that is they're really blooming expensive because they can do multiple facets of the game.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. Some really good points there, I think. And you see the game from such a tactical perspective as well, which I think, you know, you get angry at first and then you calm down and you see it, whereas I just stay angry and rant. So Helen, I want to come to you. I know you weren't at the game on Boxing Day, but obviously, you know, we've had a really poor run of results. I know you was at the Oxford game.
Yeah.
So I'm just really interested to hear your perspective on where you think really, obviously we started the season so well, but where you think we're possibly going wrong. I mean, you know, I want you to be honest and express your opinion, because I know, you know, this is what we're all here for. We all have very different opinions and it's good to gauge, you know, different opinions from people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think I'm definitely not like my youngest, who at the beginning of the season was talking about the Champions League. I was like, you know, I think let's calm down. Let's just stay in the Championship. I think, I mean, I don't want to make excuses, but I think there are two elements of the injuries and those games in the one block. If you lose to Stoke, to Coventry, you know, those games, draw at Birmingham over the season, you're not worried. You know, top of the table, Stoke, Middlesbrough, you know, even at home, you wouldn't be too surprised. But you've got them all condensed in those few weeks. I'm not really going to count Wrexham because it's a bit of an outlier, and we could maybe talk about that for a whole nother session. But if you take all of those games, spread them out, you lose, fine. But then you compound that with the injuries, and you've got this perfect storm of everyone's just lost their way. And on I was watching Norwich in the park on our phone again and walking home, and just they look like 11 players that had just come off the street and were just kicking a ball around in the park. And I just think they didn't seem to be connecting or talking or have that passion that they had at the beginning of the season. And Sid, you said, you know, no shots on target. I was at the Leicester game at home when we had 20 shots on target and we really should have won, but everyone walked away feeling really buoyed because, you know, we've lost by an amazing goal, but if we play like that, we might finish in the top 6, you know, top 8. But just to see it on, I mean, it's absolutely dire. I see better Sunday League football down the park here. And I just can't put my finger on it. I mean, I do think maybe the grief of everything that's happened in the club over the last few weeks can't be underestimated. I know it's been talked about a lot at Liverpool, obviously a very different situation at Liverpool, but I think that has hit the players and the staff and the fans quite hard as well. So again, you've got this another element kind of all compounding, and one thing you can cope with, but 3 or 4 or 5 things you can't, you know, like anything in life, let alone on the football pitch. So I think, it's just become a bit of a perfect storm. Who we buy in January, I think it will depend on what injuries, you know, how the injuries are looking. I think everyone's hoping that Godden is going to be this messiah when he comes back, but I worry that at Championship level, you know, he's not that young anymore. He hasn't played for a long time. Those 2 big surgeries, wasn't it, on the injury? You know, I'm not sure that's going to go as well as we hope, as much as I love Matty Godden. I mean, Kelman, on the other hand, came back and looked like a completely different player when I saw him at Oxford. I could really see why we'd bought him. And I'm hoping that as the injuries come back, we see that passion coming in and those players reaching their potential. And then I won't say hit January ground running, because we've got Portsmouth before then, and we really do want to win that one. And then the rearranged Portsmouth game as well. I'm not sure if that's been talked about as well, because I think that seemed to be kicking off our Christmas period, didn't it? And then, of course, the elements around that was not easy for anyone.
Yeah, and I think you've made some really good points there, especially around Matty Godden, which, you know, I think people forget Matty Godden's 34 now, and you know, it's as you get older, probably in football, you know, your body doesn't become as fit and active as it used to be when you're in your 20s, and there's a possibility that he might not come back the same player. So we need to get this out of our head that he's going to come back and rescue our season, because I genuinely don't think it's going to happen. And you know, the amount of time he's been out, he might, you know, we don't know what state he's in. And, you know, it could even end up with maybe him having to retire from this. You genuinely don't know what is going to happen with that. But no, thank you, Helen. You made some really fantastic points there. Paul, I want to come to you. I was talking to Callum Boxing Day evening, I think it was. And I think our words were, if we talk about James Bree, we're going to have an aneurysm. So, yeah. You know, I was watching a game, and I think I said to Steve before or at half time on our group chat, saying if I was in Norwich, I'd be pulling him off the pitch myself, like, because he was horrific. And how we're allowing a player to take set pieces, you know, which are dangerous situations for us. In the style that we play, we have to take our chances. You know, we had an immense amount of set pieces in that game. I've never, you know, people used to slate Albie Morgan for his set pieces and his corners and whatever. My God, what I would have given to have an Albie Morgan there Boxing Day to take those set pieces, because what the hell has happened to James Bree?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's kind of night and day, isn't it, compared to how he started off like. I remember he scored that great goal at Derby, didn't he? And we thought, yeah, we want to keep this guy in January. There's no doubt whatsoever. You know, no changes will let him go. But yeah, the last 3-4 games, he's just really dropped off. I mean, I don't think he beat the first man at all yesterday for any of his set pieces. And it's just, I don't know. I know he's had this injury. So, but if it's related to that, then why are we playing? I mean, that's the issue. I know we've got injuries. I know we're trying to, you know, put sticking plasters over various sort of, you know, cuts and whatever. But yeah, it's just so different. He's just not the player he was, you know, a month or so ago. And it's almost like he probably needs to be taken out of the equation. Clearly, Nathan trusts him, as we know he's played for Nathan before. And we know that Nathan trusts certain players implicitly. And I guess with Breezer, it's similar, but he's just not, you know, you should pick players on form. And he's just not playing, is he really? And I'd be interested to see what happens tomorrow night, because certainly judging on the last sort of 3 or 4 games, absolutely no way should it be on anything but the bench, really. So yeah, it is, but it's just so the contrast is just incredible, really, from where he was to start with. Started off like a train. We thought, yeah, this is an ex-Premier League player. He's showing his qualities, but it's just dropped off. And as I say, if it's related to the injury, then, well, I can't imagine that it's helping him. It's probably just going to aggravate things. So it may just be a lack of confidence, but to not actually hit on any of his ball, his set pieces or his corners that's really, really worrying. Maybe there's something, you know, must be something psychological there. Maybe he's trying not to aggravate the injury, but as I say, you know, clearly, you know, based on his form, he doesn't deserve to be picked. But equally, it's a case of, you know, who else does Nathan want to play down the right hand side, I suppose. But yeah, no, it's tomorrow. If he starts tomorrow, I think we're all looking for a vast improvement. And if he doesn't, then I can see him being taken out for a while, because it's really disappointing, really, really disappointing.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I was talking to Callum in one of our mini rants via WhatsApp today, that, you know, we signed Rankin Costello. Now, apart from Kaminsky, he's probably the most experienced Championship player we have in our whole squad.
Yep.
Now, I believe he played right back for Blackburn. Now, if we got James Bree, who is carrying a knock, and I can't imagine Southampton would be overly thrilled with us playing their player who is carrying an injury, why is Rankin Costello not getting minutes? I mean, obviously, we don't see Rankin Costello train, you know, but I know he had a much better game. I think, was it Oxford or whatever game it was?
Wasn't it?
Birmingham, yeah.
Birmingham, yeah.
Yeah.
I know he had a much better game, but you know, we haven't seen enough of him, in my opinion, to judge him really. You know, he's going to be rusty because he hasn't played the minutes. But I don't get the mentality behind playing a player who's carrying a knock and when you've got a perfectly good replacement on the bench.
I guess, I mean, I think, Emma, I guess it's to sort of Callum's point about sort of the players that drive you forward. And I know JRC had that great twinkle toes run, didn't he, on the left-hand side, which almost resulted in a goal at St Andrews. But, you know, that's not really his game. I mean, obviously, Breezer, you know, has got pace. He can get forward. But as I say, if there's no point in, you know, driving forward if the end product's going to be pants and his set piece stuff is not going to be up to the mark. So, I mean, there is I guess you know, you could used to say, you know, JRC could fit there, but I guess, you know, his game, as I say, isn't about pushing us forward. It's about being, to me, it's about being solid, I suppose. And I suppose Nathan sees James as being able to get forward with some pace, but as I said, there's no point, you know, being able to sort of drive forward if the end product isn't going to be there. So, yeah, I mean, but you're right. I think with Joe, you know, he showed enough, I think, for me at Birmingham to get a start. So, you know, who knows? Nathan might surprise us tomorrow. But I think, you know, as we know, Nathan does persist against some of our better judgment, I suppose. And it's whether, you know, I'd be surprised if James doesn't start tomorrow. But, you know, we'll see, because as I said, based on past performance, certainly recent past performance, you know, Breezer doesn't deserve a starting place in my humble opinion.
No, and I completely agree with you. And I think something else me and Callum were talking about, how he was allowed to take that amount of set pieces. I mean, surely Roy can take a set piece, Sonny can take a set piece, you know. And I know when Apter came on, he took one, and already just with one free kick, it was a much better ball into the box. So the fact that he was allowed to stay on and take those set pieces for however many minutes was disgraceful, really. Disgraceful. So, as I mentioned now, I really want to talk about Sonny Carey. So, Sid and Steve, I'm going to come to you because at the start of the season, I mean, Sonny is still our top goal scorer, but he's not had a good sort of few weeks with us, really. And I've noticed as well, he's sitting a lot deeper. He's pushed more back into the 8 rather than the 10. Something's not working there. And I know, again, you know, having spoken to Callum, that he is being man-marked because people realise he's our danger man and he's our creative outlet. But, you know, what do we do to get the most out of him? Like he was playing at the start of the season, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, he's still our main danger man, in my opinion. And as I say, he was on Boxing Day. Every time that he did get the ball on a half turn and he got an opportunity to move into the opposition half, he looked dangerous. I think it's more the problem is when he's moving with the ball, and he's exceptional at moving with the ball. He's one of the best, probably certainly in our team, maybe in the division, at actually physically running with the ball. There didn't look like there was a lot of options for him to look at. There weren't runs being made off of him, the side of him, around the back, whatever. It looked like he was, you know, he was obviously making way in the opposition half without any opportunities or little slide balls to put in or anything like that. And that was probably to do with the fact that we were a little bit powder puff up front in that respect. But yeah, he still is our main goal threat. And ultimately, I'm of the opinion that's got to change at some point. People need to start scoring. That goes, obviously, Charlie's back now, so hopefully he'll continue on the form that he's had. But in regards to Leeburn, Tanto and Campbell, they've got to contribute. And as I say, if teams are looking after Carey as the way that they've been marking him well, we're going to struggle. It's as simple as that, because we need input from other areas. And if we don't find that, there's probably going to be a few more days like Boxing Day to come. Can I just say one more thing in regards to the set pieces? I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is that takes a set piece. These are professional footballers. Put the ball in the box. It drives me insane. It drives me crazy. All right, he can be a dead ball specialist and Roy. Any one of them has got the ability as a professional footballer to put a ball in the box. Simple as that. Rant over. Sorry.
No, that's not a rant. That's not a rant. Have you heard your daughter? That's
No,
not a
that's a perfectly polite, acceptable point. I think is what
yeah, no,
I would call that.
it's a very good
Yeah.
point. I mean, most of them earn in a week what we probably earn in 2-3 months.
Yeah.
So
There's no
yeah, you
excuse,
should.
and it drives me crazy. It drives me
No,
crazy.
there isn't an excuse.
Mm.
Callum, I'll come to you because I think we need to talk about that front four if we're calling them a front four, because I didn't think Tanto played awfully. Look, I'm a big Tanto fan. I think he did okay in the first half, but I think the problem was on Boxing Day, him and Lieberman were having to drop so deep to get the ball because there was no creativity coming from the midfield. They're having to do double the work, therefore they can't create chances for themselves. And I think I don't know if I told you, but I shared to the guys in the group chat that on one of the standout moments for me was on the 82nd minute when Kaminsky, a long ball to TC, and TC just stood there looking like someone had stolen his Christmas presents, and just let the Norwich player run off with the ball, and he didn't even sort of track back. And I was just like, do you know what? TC is a bit like Marmite. I think you either love him or you hate him. I don't hate him, but I don't love him. But I need to see more from him. Like, again, he's pulling out challenges. He's not putting the effort in, which I'm used to seeing from him. When he's come on in substitute appearances, he's been better. But again, it was a really poor performance from him as a substitute. And then, I'm seeing Lieberman get absolute pelters on Facebook groups, on the forums. Yet I think Miles has not actually been playing too bad recently. So I'm just really interested to gauge your opinion.
Yeah, a couple of things. First thing, I mean, isn't it the most TC thing ever? He's the one that created the only opportunity we created all game by going down the outside and whipping one in, right? I need to see that more often, quite frankly, right? He's got a good left foot on him, right? I said it, I was wrong before. I said he was left footed. He's not, right? But, if you want to go on FIFA terms, he's got a 4-star left foot, right? Like, just go on the outside and whip one in. One of the things for Lieberman is I look at him and I go, we're playing him as a target man in the middle of the pitch, right? If you're a target man, put the ball in his head in the box, right? But I think it's injury related. So he's playing too deep because we don't have that connecting player, I would say, right? But we don't have any width because Bell's not a left wing back and he can't cross, but he knows he can't cross, so he's just not going to try, which, fair enough, right? Bree's playing on one leg. Apter constantly wants to cut it inside, which isn't great for trying to get it onto a tall striker's head because the ball's going to swing, right? So if you're a striker, you got to sort of nod backwards. Carey doesn't pass the ball. In fact, the one thing I was going to mention about Carey when you were chatting earlier, Steve, there was one time he ran with the ball, got in the box, there's two players in front of him. Lieberman stood at the top of the box. He's wide open.
That's true.
If he knocks that into Rose Ed, okay, that's on him. Yeah. But let your striker have the shot.
Yeah.
Right? Don't shoot there. And he just literally, it's a simple 5-6 yard ball. Play that across to him. He knocks it. It's the same. He did it. Was it Middlesbrough? But he could have played TC in and play him in and just decided to shoot and right at the goalkeeper's hand. Right. So there are moments where we're not playing the right ball. That's not a thing on Sonny Carey. He's a shot first midfielder. It's what he's going to do. And that's fine, right? That's why he gets the goals that he gets and all the rest of it. But there are moments where we're not playing the right ball. But so much of this is, and I don't know if anyone saw the Corley tweet, we went Macomo for Norwich. They bought him from Lincoln for 1.2 million. It's a third of what we paid for Charlie Kelman. He's got 5 goals in 6 games. Right, he got himself injured again now. Of course, he blooming has after we've played him and he scored. But he's keeping Josh Sargent out of the side. Right, it cost a third of what we paid for our striker, and that's not Charlie Kelman's fault. But Kelman's a finisher. He doesn't create. What was great against Oxford was he created that shot. No, he's not much of a shot creator. He'll just finish things. If you put it on a plate for him, he'll tap it in, right? But we don't have. You've got TC who's kind of the one that's got to do it. But I think teams have, they've gone. You've got 2 creators here. If I stop him from going on his left foot, so he can't swing it, he's not really comfortable doing that. TC, he needs to get better at that. But they realize if I block off that foot and he can't cut inside, he's going to have to go backwards. So we're in that same sort of thing of if that's why you need that sort of connecting player who can pass it through. We can't pass through the lines, and it's absolutely killing us. But I've got strikers right in the box. I've got Oluwafe who can create his own chances but can't finish. So I'm in a thing where none of them are I don't think any of them are particularly bad, and I don't think the answer, by the way, is spaffing 5 million in January on a striker. I don't think it solves the problem. The problem to me is much further back. But I just look at it and I go, the structure isn't working rather than one player. In terms of the 50-50s, Emma, I don't disagree with you. Actually, they need to be more physical. But also, like, playing him at left wing back, he can't do it. Like, it's not his fault he can't do it. He's not a left wing back, right? So in that particular thing, when Mark's going about going to a 4, if you're going to bring him on, right, maybe you do think, but either put him up front because you're trying to convert him into a striker, which I know drives people mad. But if you're going to do that, either put him up front, right, or change the formation and play him as a winger. You've got Apter on the other side anyway, right? So you can change the formation for 10 or 15 minutes in a game. That's not what I'm against doing, right? I just wouldn't shift the whole team for 90 minutes into a 4-3-3 or whatever way you want to do it. So I think that there's like tactical bits. There's that we don't have a left back, so we're trying to plug him in and he's not comfortable doing it, and people are giving pelters because he's not comfortable doing something. But the one time he did what a left wing back should do, which Bell also didn't do, by the way, which was overlap. He created the one opportunity we created all game. And why? Because Luke Berry's the only player that seemingly in that team at the moment knows how to make an intelligent run across the front post. But we don't make that run. So there's no one to aim at, even if we do get width. So we're not creating width. Everything's going down the middle. Everyone knows clog the middle. They're not going to go to the outside. If we do go to the outside, we can't cross because Bree's on 1 foot, right? He's playing on 1 leg. So that's why if that all sounds like a mess to people, that's why it looks like a mess. And I'm sure people will see it differently and have different perspectives, and it's all subjective. But I think it's a structural thing at the moment, and I'm not sure that if you get the injuries back, it will help. But I think almost in a way until Josh Edwards is back, unless we get that side sorted, this is going to stay a mess because everyone's going to go, your only creative outlet is either TC up front, block him off, or Bree on the outside, and he can't cross anyway. So, does Fukuda coming in for Bree fix it? Probably not. Does Apter Poma fix it? Somewhat. Actually, creatively it does, but it makes you really, really porous defensively. So it's all, there's drawbacks and positives to everything, and I think that's where we're struggling. But so much of it is, it's not the strikers are playing badly or the strikers are being lazy or the strikers aren't. It's just there's nothing to feed off of. And if you create one chance when Godwin was fit, he'd stick it away. But he only ever had 2 shots in a game. But one of them's going in. And that's the difference, right? But these guys there's nothing for them. There's nothing for them to tap away. If you look at the one, there's Norwich got a ball in the box. Perfect for someone to tap in from 3 yards out. When was the last time we played that ball? Right? When was the last time we played that ball? Right? And until we figure out a way to play that ball, it's going to look the way that it does at the moment.
Yeah, no, some really fantastic points there. But Helen, we're going to come to you in a minute because we want to learn more about you. But before we do, Sid, I just want to talk to you about someone who I was massively impressed with on Boxing Day. And it's probably, apart from Kaminsky, the only player who I thought did a really good job. And I wanted to give him a big shout out and wanted to gauge your opinion. Keenan Goff, he made his professional debut. And for me, he didn't look out of place at all. I think he looked evenly, if not better, than our own senior defenders there. So what did you make of his performance?
I thought he was really good, and I did think that obviously him playing against some good strikers on their day, I do think that he did really well. And obviously he's only young, plays in the under-21s team, so he's got a bit of experience from that, but he's never had like a full championship experience. And obviously playing the championship is a big thing, especially if you're that young. But I do think that he had a really good game, and I thought that he played for the team and played for the club. And I do think that he kind of knew what it meant to him because, as you could see, he didn't look like he was getting mad throughout the game at all. He looked like he had a smile in his face, even when we went 1-0 down. He looked like he was still happy to be there on the pitch.
Yeah, under-21 captain as well. So an automatic leader on the pitch. And I was very, very, very impressed with him. But hopefully Kane will be back for tomorrow. Not that I wouldn't want to see Keenan again, but I think this is a must-win game. So before, obviously, we move on to talk about Pompey, Helen, we're going to come to you because, obviously, you're our special guest fan and we want to learn more about you. So obviously, if you could tell us a bit about your sort of Charlton story and what got you into supporting the club, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here. It's a privilege to talk to everyone and get involved in the chat. I get it here at home, but again, when you've got like a 6 and an 8-year-old and you're discussing it, it's, let's just say, when we played some games in the park, I'm always the opposition and he's always Charlton. And Doherty and TC scored hat-tricks today. So kind of maybe gives you a level on, on where we are with the love of the players. But yeah, so I mean, I live in Surbiton in southwest London now, so it's not too far to get to the valley, which is good. I get there probably about once a month at the moment now with my boys. We give my wife some time alone at home, while the 3 of us go. Sometimes with my parents as well. But both sides of my family, Charlton. Every single uncle, aunt, cousin. We've got one rogue cousin. He's a Brighton fan, but he does support Charlton as well. But we just about forgive him because he lives in Brighton, so he kind of slips in there and we don't mind. But my mum grew up in Blackheath, so she's really close, remembers going to the games, you know, as a young girl and you know, into her 20s and early marriage as well. Her grandma, so my great grandma lived on Floyd Road, so in the famous FA Cup picture with on the bus, she is holding my grandma in the background, kind of on the doorstep. So there's a huge picture in one of the rooms at Helen, which is really cool to see them there. So on my mum's side, to say all Charlton fans. My uncle passed away earlier this year, and we had Charlton scarves all over the place at the funeral and the wake, and everyone there was, you know, actually talking about happy memories of Charlton and going to Charlton together, and it was a really lovely part of the day and all the stories. And her cousin also was involved in the building of the current Valley Stadium. He was an architect. He's retired now, but he was an architect. So, and he's got some of the original sketches kind of in his hallway of the Valley. Wow. So he was really involved in that as well. So that's pretty cool on my mum's side. And then on my dad's side, my nan and granddad always kind of lived around Charlton together. My granddad was on Shooters Hill during the war. And my dad grew up in Harvey Gardens. So literally 50 yards from the ground, he'd step out. The Valley was there. He lived there for 21 years. So he said he's been a fan for 68 years. So he's 75 now.
Wow.
Used to sell hot dogs at the ground. And yeah, he used to go with his dad. I think there's stories of them like climbing over the gates and peering, you know, over fences and things to try and get in the ground. But so he's really been through all the highs and the lows. I'm more of the highs, which is a good thing, apart from the League One era. So I really got into football. It was Euro 96. I remember, so I was 11. I remember watching, really getting into then. And then I went to my first game I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget, 97. So I was 12, almost 13. We won 3-0 against Ipswich. Lieben and Mendonca both scored that day. And I just absolutely loved Charlton ever since. Went to as many games as possible kind of from that time through university. When I moved back to London after graduating, it did drop off a little bit, but then having my boys, and I didn't push the football on them. You know, my wife is not from a footballing family, so they don't have a team. She'll tolerate it, but she's not hugely into it. But I didn't push it on them, but they both just love it. And my youngest especially, absolutely obsessed. But his knowledge of the game is amazing as well. Like any club in the league, even the Premiership, but mostly the EFL, he'll be like, oh yeah, well they won 2-0 last week and this player scored in this minute, and he'll know all the stats from all the games. And it's incredible, and it's amazing going to football with them. It's a cliche, but it really is my happy place. And it's just, I feel so at home there. The club is such a family orientated club. You know, you've got the fan zones. We go and play the table football and the pool beforehand. We've got bricks outside by the Sam Bartram statue as well. And I think wherever you go, you meet a Charlton fan, it seems. So we were playing in the park yesterday, and my boy shouting the commentary, and then this old guy, he must have been in his 70s, like shouted across at us, "You Charlton fans?" I'm like, yeah. So like, we're running over, and we were chatting all through it because he'd heard him shouting about Apter down the wing and Kaminsky saves it, because he does like a running commentary as we play. And it's just, yeah, and everyone just chats and gets on and always chatting on the train. And yeah, I just love it and feel really privileged to be part of this football club.
Amazing. I'm going to ask these guys if they want to ask you a question, which I'm sure they will, but I think I'm going to come to Steve and Sid first, because obviously Sid has grown a love for Charlton through Dad. And we love having these guys, you know, on the podcast. They're both really good friends of mine. And I know Steve absolutely adores being able to, you know, be at football and see the football through Sydney's eyes and how excited that she gets. So I'm sure they've got a great question for you. So I'll come to them first.
So my question is, who is your favourite Charlton player in the squad right now? And who is your all-time favourite player?
Okay, so I've been thinking through it. I asked my boys as well. So my eldest said Lieben. I wasn't too sure. I think it's just because he likes doing the chant, maybe. My youngest said Carey, which I was on board with, or TC. Again, I think he's got a Godden and TC love from last season, and it's still spilling over. But for me, it feels a bit cliche in a way to say Jones, but I think, you know, for the most part, he is the linchpin at the back, and I think he's doing a brilliant job as captain as well. But I have to say, I really love Rob Apter. I don't think he's getting or had the minutes that he deserves. I think right at the beginning of the season, I thought he played really well. And then to lose his spot, I thought was a little bit unfair, difficult, harsh on him, whatever word you use. So I would like to see more of him, because I think, again, it's all to do with the system and how we play. But I do think that he's got a lot more to give. But Kelman as well played really well, I thought, against Oxford, you know, in that last 30 minutes. So I said several players there. But I'm going to go Apter, slightly left field.
And who's your favourite all-time player?
Again, I mean, I caught Lieben at the end of his career. So again, I remember sitting in the stand and Lieben, which obviously we still. Oh no, sorry, my electrics are going. I knew it was going to do this. Oh. There we go. It got excited when I started talking about Lieben. We need to renovate the house. Oh no, hang on a second. No, it's going to be all right. Sorry, apologies.
I know Stranger Things is out. I didn't know it was part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need a rewire in this house, but I'm spending too much money going to Charlton, so the renovation's put off. But I mean, Mendonca is just, I think it has to be. I mean, again, the Johnny Jacksons, the Robinsons, but Clive Mendonca is absolutely. I mean, the hat trick at Wembley. One of our cats, his middle name is Mendonca. I managed to the family. I wasn't allowed the first name, but the middle name of the cat. So yeah, Clive Mendonca.
Yeah, mine's Johnny Robinson. I adore him. I absolutely adore him. Steve, have you got a question?
Yeah, hey Helen, and welcome to the podcast. Yeah, it's lovely to hear you talk about your boys there. Yeah, enjoy everything that you can through their eyes, as Emma said there. Sounds like we need to get them signed up with the 2 hat-tricks today, to be honest with you. But
yeah, absolutely. I think you definitely do set pieces better than Brie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to find out what would be, your best experience as a Charlton fan, whether that be a day, whether that be a game, whether that be a moment. What would be your best experience as a Charlton fan?
So I think, well, we had my dad's 60th at the Valley, and that was really cool. I mean, obviously it wasn't a match day, but that's like being in the fans bar and having that celebration and kind of celebrating his life at the Valley was a fantastic day with all the family there. But I think it probably, in terms of matches, have been, again, to loads of matches that kind of really stick out. I think Ipswich in 2022, when it was 4-2 and then we drew 4-4. That was my eldest's first game, and by some synergy, my first game was Ipswich as well. And I remember he was quite bored, to be honest, by the end. And I remember saying to my dad, "Should we just go? Because, you know, it's 96 minutes, we're 4-2 down." We stayed, and then of course, I mean, the noise when that 4th goal went in is unlike anything I've ever heard before. So I think that probably, in terms of the celebrations and the experience of being there, you know, for his first match, I think that probably is really sticks out in my mind, definitely.
If you can see my daughter's face smiling right now, you've evoked memories of George Dobson, so thank you.
Yeah.
She's George Dobson's biggest fan and always will be. So the little Welsh girl can bugger off, and that right, Sid. And I must say, for that game, I got on Sky Sports because I was running down the aisle and celebrating. I got a bit carried away where Dobbo had celebrated. So Paul, I'll come to you. I'm sure you've got a great question for Helen.
You always give the big build up for Emma. I'm not sure, Helen, but and obviously great to have you on. You're they describe as proper Charlton. I mean, you're steeped in it. You're generations old of Charlton followers. Sid kind of stole my thunder really, because when you mentioned Super Clive scored in your first game, I thought, oh, I'm sure he's going to be probably your idol or one of your. I was going to ask you, have you actually managed to make it up to the museum?
I have. Yeah.
So you've seen his boots and his medal and.
Yeah,
because there's you probably know the story to this. I don't think I'm talking out of term. I think Ian from the museum mentioned it when he came on, that basically Clive liked to bet. So he flogged all his gear basically, but then someone bought it and actually loaned it back to the museum. So it's still it's preserved for sort of eternity in the museum. But no, Helen, sorry, Emma, I actually got a question, so let me move on.
You haven't? Okay. And if you actually get a chance, do go up to the museum, because you'll look at Mendonca's boots. Not only did he have the tiniest feet I've ever seen, but his boots are really damaged as well, and they were battered. And Ian actually told me that they were a real state when he actually played and scored the hat-trick in them. So, they weren't the best. Callum, I'm sure you've got a good question.
Yeah.
Don't put a pull on me.
On the museum, if you get a chance as well, they will get very, very excited when they show you the kit from the post-war period. I think they're missing one year, and I think it's a weird year. It's like 1967 or something. They don't have a home shirt for.
Right.
So it was because they only printed a certain number of them, and no one seems to have an extra. So if you get a chance to go to the museum, they will be very, very happy to help you part with a mid 1960s home shirt, I think it is, and they get very, very excited to show you the post-war one, which just looks like a red rugby jersey. It's like I didn't want to let them know how much of a letdown it was. They hyped it up, and it was I was like, oh, it's a rugby jersey with a robin on it. Okay, but it was found in someone's attic or something, so it's a whole thing. But it's great. I guess my question is more in the short term, which is. Obviously, with the discussions that we've been having, I know we all talk about left back, and I think it's a given that is the position they need, that they're going to sort, and I think they're pretty clear. They've said they're going to sort it.
Yeah.
Is there another position in January that you think that we should focus on? And I guess it kind of all goes back to the question that I like to ask people, which is, in terms of the ownership group, is it a monetary amount, or is there a sort of a number of players or different things that sort of can show their sort of their commitment for you as someone that's watched sort of decades and seen the ups and the downs of the best of owners and the absolute worst of the worst. Where do you sort of see them in that sort of tree?
I think I think John said it when he was on a couple of weeks ago, your first fan on, that I also try and kind of separate the ownership from the pitch, because I think otherwise I'd get too annoyed and go on a rant. What we have now is obviously far, far better than a few years ago, under our Dutch friend, Belgian friend, sorry. There was genuinely a point where my dad and I discussed, we're going to lose the Valley. We're going to lose our club. Like, what we're going to do. And I will be first down there, like fully prepared to fight and march and do whatever we need to do if it came to that point. And the fact that they still own that land is a worry. But I think we have to trust that the roots of our club and how old we are and the community that we have and the fans worldwide, actually we will keep the club alive. And I hope that it will always be at the Valley. Obviously, I've got that family connection that if we were ever to move from there, that would be heartbreaking. But I think that as this family orientated, huge community, chat to anyone, listen to everyone's opinions, be very respectful, be very helpful to each other. I think we will keep this club under our ownership. And if it's faceless Americans, it's not ideal, but they are investing more in the club. Sorry, my light's going again. They are trusting Nathan Jones. I mean, I've seen a couple of comments, of late of, oh, Nathan Jones, maybe he should go. And I think, no, we need to trust it. This time last season, we're in a similar state, and look what happened. We need to give it time, but they need to invest as well. And they did invest over the summer. Obviously, it's not quite working out, perhaps how we all thought it might at one point. Again, my wife and I were having the discussion. She was like, you've got loads of strikers. What are you going to do? There's too many of them. And now, barely scoring any goals. But I think, short term, we need to shore up those gaps in January. Like you said, left back is not unknown. I think you're completely right in terms of the creativity in the centre, and you can. It's bridging it, isn't it, in the middle of the park? But I also think you see other teams doing it. We don't play from the goalkeeper out. Like Kaminsky will pass it, or Jones will even pass it out, and then you're trying to move it forward slowly. Actually, you see, I think it was happening. I want to say it was Birmingham, but forgive me if I'm wrong. You see the goalkeeper kicks it, it's 1-2, and then it's in the box already. And we just do not have that style of play. And I think in the Championship, we really struggle because of that as well. But if you haven't got the right people to pass it to, there's no point Kaminsky doing that either. So I think, we really need to work out, and I do agree with you, the system that's going to allow these players to shine. And it was at the beginning, and it's not now. I mean, I think maybe Edwards, because of the other injuries, are starting to come back. Obviously, the one that hasn't yet, Edwards. And I think maybe there is something there of actually that hit us a lot harder than we realised. Again, you can't put it all on one player, because then that's a really dangerous place to be. But yeah, Nathan needs to find a way to bring in players that have the right motivation, the right communication with each other. And I'm not saying they're not motivated to win, but I mean, if you look at Norwich, you would say they weren't. And why were they there for a lot of the match? So some mentality has to change, and it's hard to put your finger on what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think it's midfield where we're really lacking, and I do think we need a midfielder that is going to drive us up. And it's a shame Harvey Nibbs just hasn't really been the player maybe that we thought he could be. Or from some of his performances.
A chance. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut over you, but I don't know.
No, you're fine.
Minutes in him.
Yeah, I think the problem was when he came in, he hadn't had a pre-season. He'd obviously been injured, so he wasn't match fit. He wasn't match ready, which is not ideal. So you haven't really had a chance to build a rapport with the team at that point. And he obviously, in his performance, he hasn't really hit the ground running. Yeah. And I do think he is more of a 10. Harvey Nibbs, but then obviously Carey was in such outstanding form that you couldn't drop Carey at that point. So Nibbs wasn't getting the looking maybe that he deserved. But you now see that Carey is struggling. But is that a system issue, or like Callum said, he's being kind of marked out of the game?
Yeah.
So Nibbs, is he strong enough maybe to battle that? Is he fit enough? I definitely know that there's a player in Harvey Nibbs, and I would like to see more. But we're at the risk at the moment of things couldn't really get much worse. We're in a bit of a precarious position, and we have to start picking up points. So are you going to risk Harvey Nibbs at the moment when he's probably not completely match fit?
Yeah.
So it is really risky, but I think we'll quickly move on because I want to get back to the darts, because there's some really good darts on. So did you watch Luke Littler last night? Oh, he was on fire. Fire. I was so glad he was, though, because that bunting match before was sending me to sleep. So we obviously we move on to Pompey tomorrow. We know it's going to be a tough game. It's really a 6-pointer, this game. I don't think there's a debate that we need to go there and we need to win. As the song says, we always win at Fratton Park, but is that going to be the case? I believe if we had Corey Blackett-Taylor, it probably might be, but or the Scott Fraser from a few seasons ago, maybe. But we shall
turned to
see.
Messi for 3 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Bonkers.
But you know, we've got to go there. We've got to be. As I'm going to do a Nathan Jones, we have to be the best version of ourselves and do the basics right. So hopefully we won't go through lineups too much. I could see it pretty much being the same, except I'd like to see Rankin Costello come in for Bree, because if I have to watch another Bree set piece, I might just go to the bar. In all honesty, so I think what we'll do is probably just hit score predictions straight away. So Helen, as our guest, I'll ask you for yours first.
I'm going to go positive. Like my youngest, when we lost 5-1 against Southampton, he said, well, at least we scored. I said, well, you know what? That is the positive outlook we need in life, isn't it? But I'm going to go 1-0 and I'm going to go Charlie Kelman.
Love that. Sid?
I'm going to go 2-1 Charlie Kelman and Sonny Carey.
Sonny Carey. Steve?
I'm going to follow Helen's positivity. I hope that we have a go at them. I just want us to have a go at them. Don't sit back, because they're not the greatest side, this mob. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, like my daughter. I'm going to go with a Leeburn brace.
Oh, that'd shut a few people up, wouldn't it? Paul?
Well, like Helen said earlier on, they play like a bunch of strangers at Norwich, so I want to see some maximum effort. Again, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to go for 2-1, Charlie and TC.
And Callum.
The only lineup change I want is I in a game where you need to win like this, I get Burke in there for Goff. He played well. I'm not going to whatever him. It's not a thing on him. But if I'm playing Burke 10 grand a week, this is a game he needs to play in, and whatever his injury, whatever, don't care. You're playing in this game, you know, put an extra ice pack on it. I don't know. I don't care. Because you just need him, right? You need that experience. This is going to be loud in there. It's not a pleasant place to. It is for Charlton fans. It's not a pleasant place to go Fratton Park most of the time for almost anybody else. Honestly, if we weren't going to Fratton for the next game, I think I'd be a lot more down than I am. It's just a place where we just have it's a weird hoodoo. If we score early, the hoodoo sort of starts. You can get under their skin. They really hate it when we say we always win at Fratton Park. It bothers them. So if we get an early goal, you can sort of take the sting out of it by just taking the mick. I'll go 2-1 Murphy for Portsmouth because I think he's a cracking player. If they go down if they go down to League One, that's a player in the summer I'd very much be intrigued by. But yeah, Murphy for Pompey, and we'll go Leeburn because I know he's going to play, and I'm going to shock the world, and I'm going to pick Tanto to score. I know I never do that, but I don't know why. It just feels like a centre-back duo for Pompey that you can sort of beat up a bit. And Regan Poole is out, so that's helpful. So they're sort of down to their third and fourth choice centre-back, I think. So yeah, I'll go positive. I'm going to spend most of the day in the pub, trying not to think about it. but yeah, I'm going to go with it.
It makes sense, Callum.
He keeps getting this that's Paul's Tanto can. Helen, just
my Tanto can, yeah. So it's my work of art. So not.
I'm doing reverse psychology. I do reverse psychology because I never think he's going to score. So if I think he is going to score, hopefully, bit of reverse psychology will.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, I'm going to go for a 2-0. I think. I'm hopeful of a clean sheet win, as Thomas Sangard would say. Who am I going for? Tanto brace. Let's have it. I'm feeding it. Get the can out, Paul. We're having Tanto brace.
I'll get my video out again. Yeah, no.
But as long as it's a better performance. Please just don't let them keep singing them Pompey chimes and that stupid bloke with a big hat keep ringing that bell because he does my nutting. So if you're going tomorrow, please bring your loud voices and, you know, let's make it a good atmosphere down there and let's back the boys. Thank you for watching tonight, guys. Great show. Helen, you've been an incredible guest. Thank you so much for joining us and I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
I have.
So big thanks to Callum, to Paul, to Steve and Sid, and to all you guys watching. As always, thanks for your love and support. Don't forget to like and subscribe the channel, and we will see you all on Sunday, hopefully with positive, smiley faces. So we might even see you at the game tomorrow. So we will see you all soon. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks all.
Cheers. Thanks.